Over the past decade, our state has experienced increasingly large wildfires that put families and rural communities at risk, not to mention the fire crews who bravely work around the clock under extreme conditions to protect life and property. Our state witnessed historic fire seasons in 2014 and 2015. In both years, hundreds of thousands of acres burned for weeks on end, and it was all hands on deck. Thousands of fire crews and National Guard members, even some residents, were called in to help fight the fires. They helped save communities from even worse destruction. But the toll was heartbreaking. 3 firefighters were killed, more than 350 homes were lost, and even years later some people are still struggling to get back on their feet in areas where the housing inventory can be very low and federal disaster recovery programs aren't designed to fit their needs. That's why my office has been working with community members in rural areas across Washington state to help. I've taken their ideas and introduced a bill in Congress called the Rural Disaster Recovery Act of 2018. This bill would expand and modernize key disaster recovery programs in order to better help families and rural communities affected by wildfires. It addresses some of the glaring gaps in the disaster safety net and helps reduce the massive strain on state and local governments of fighting these huge wildfires. The bill also takes into account long-term damage, such as flooding or mudslides that can occur long after a wildfire is out. This is important because wildfires can be slow-moving disasters that play out over weeks or even months. And here's the bottom line. Far too many families in our state have been left behind by federal disaster assistance programs that were not designed with them in mind. My legislation, which was born of countless conversations in communities around Washington state, would not only incentivize wildfire prevention measures, it would also make sure the federal government is better positioned to help communities in their time of need. I believe it's the right thing to do to help rural communities that are increasingly at risk of devastating wildfires that have only grown in size and scope over the past decade. I want to touch on some of the highlights of my bill. The Rural Disaster Recovery Act of 2018 would expand the disaster safety net by creating a new program to help resource-strained communities recover from major disasters in the event individual assistance is not granted. The program could help with shelter, food, and other recovery services. It would modernize recovery programs by increasing the Farm Service Agency grant award limit, which has remained unchanged since 1981, and create a pilot program to provide disaster victims more time to apply for and utilize recovery grants. It would target mitigation assistance by helping wildfire-prone areas with easier, more reliable access to federal funds to defend against future fires. The bill makes permanent a pilot authority that allowed for FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program to be awarded to areas that were issued Fire Management Assistant grants but did not receive a major disaster declaration. The bill would also create a pilot program for the administration of HGMP, which would broaden the wildfire-specific eligible activities and expedite the application review and disbursement process. Finally, my bill recognizes the long-term effects of wildland fires by creating a pilot program to make FEMA public assistance funding available to areas that are affected by flooding or mudslides and landslides that were made worse by the wildfires. Wildfires and other disasters are devastating, but no community, county, or even state should have to shoulder the burden alone. Just like when tornadoes or hurricanes or earthquakes strike, I believe our country can and should step up to help neighbors in need. I'm proud to work with communities around our state on this legislation, and I'm proud to be your voice in the United States Senate. Thank you.